So as we've learned from working with CELDEF and becoming more familiar with the understanding of the community rights movement, is we know it's not enough on its own because of the power and authority of the corporate rights that are recognized in our country today. This law standing alone would be very vulnerable to attack. And so, as Thomas described, we have also added provisions to this initiative that frontally challenge corporate rights in our community. And so we have an enforcement provision that makes that for corporations that violate the terms of our initiative, either the protections or the prohibitions, they are unable to exercise their corporate rights to challenge our initiative and try to find it unconstitutional. This is our way of protecting our local food system and pushing back on the system that Thomas has described that is designed to keep our community quiet and compliant with the existing system and being forced to accept a form of industrial agriculture that we do not want here and that threatens the local food system that is at the heart of our individual health, our community's economy, and our environment. And so we are seeking to move this initiative forward as quickly as possible. So with that said, where is the initiative today? Well, it was filed yesterday with the Lane County Elections Office for the 5th time. Why is it going through so many revisions? Well, as we expected, we are getting challenged from corporate interests in the county. We are also getting pushback from our local government. And so, very much as Thomas described, this is what we expected to happen, and we will keep at these revisions until we're successful in getting this initiative on the ballot before Lane County voters, and we expect it to happen hopefully in May of next year. We certainly hope you will follow the progress, but more importantly, we hope you'll get involved. Thomas has a great way of lighting a fire under us all, and so we hope you'll take that fire right to the table at the back of the room and sign up on one of our lists. We have 7 teams of really important work we're doing to move this initiative and the education in our community forward, and we'd love for you to be involved. So that's the update from Lane County. We look forward to your involvement, and thanks again for coming. Really appreciate you here. I'll turn the microphone over to Audrey Moore from Josephine County.
As Ann shared and as Thomas indicated, one of the first things you come up against is your local government, if you will. But we filed our initiative September 25th of last year, and we ended up in court. To make a long story short, we were given the summary and the title of our bill or initiative, and it actually blatantly has some false information in it, in the summary. Meaning that the voters, when they see it in the voter pamphlet, are going to get information that indicates, so you'll know what it has, is that if, for example, our bill passes, or when it passes and somebody breaks the law, when we go to court, nature goes with us. We, like the Lane County and Benton bills, have nature in our initiative, but nature only goes to court if they have damaged the stream or the creek or nature itself, because that is part of our bill. So they've misled the public right off the bat. To make a long story short, we went to court and we lost. In fact, my husband, who's the chief petitioner, and I were in court, and we were called vigilantes, that were law-breaking vigilantes. It was very disheartening, but it was a wake-up call. I was like, okay, well, this is just the beginning. So to make a long story short, we did not have the fortitude to be able to start all over. We're retirees, and we're kind of etched in our ways, and it took a lot of energy just to get this ball moving. So we knew if we stopped and had to start over, we might not be able to carry this ball forward. So we chose to accept it the way it was, and actually thought, in a way, once it came to the time that we got the initiative onto the ballot, we got our number, we were able to start to move things forward, that we were going to be able to use this to show exactly what happens on the local level, how you get shut down right from the beginning sometimes. So to make a long story short, we are now gathering signatures. We have 2,000 signatures, however, to obtain between now and August the 6th. It's a rough road ahead. We're a motley crew, we're a small team. In fact, we were advised in the very beginning, to be honest, by Thomas himself, that we might want to step back and build the team and get things going first. But again, we knew if we had to stop and try to get our engines moving forward again, it was not going to happen. So we're plowing through, but we are determined. And we are going to make this happen. Our bill is all about, or our initiative, I keep calling it a bill, it's not a bill yet. Our initiative is about banning pesticide practices in Josephine County. And when I introduced Thomas earlier, I mentioned timber. Timber was where we started. The helicopters are done by timber. For those who may not know, timber has an option of using helicopters depending on the terrain to spray their clear cuts. Normally your clear cuts are sprayed 2 to 3 times per site. And it's always a change of chemicals. We call them chemical cocktails because they mix them all up and they're all hazardous for both our air, water, soil, and bodies. So to make a long story short, that's where we started. But we found that it's not just timber that's poisoning us here in Oregon. It's ODOT, it's Public Works, it's the parks, it's the schools. The list is endless. And we chose, as a group, to take it all on. Because we thought if we just stop some of the poisons, the others are going to still be trespassing upon us. We took it all on. So to make a long story short, our initiative bans corporate and governmental entities that are spraying toxic poisons within Josephine counties that require an applicator license. That's a pretty big deal. We're in essence taking on. We're taking on timber, we're taking on agriculture, and we're taking on the state itself. And the bottom line is, I don't care. What they're doing is ethically wrong, it's morally wrong, it is so wrong on so many levels that I can't even believe to this day, after almost 4 years, that it's legal for them to be doing this in our state. So with that, we're in the process again of gathering the signatures, and once we do, then we will be on the November ballot. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Clint Linzey, no relation. I'm one of the chief petitioners with Benton Food Freedom, along with Dana Allen and Harry McCormick. And we came together in March of 2012 at a meeting. We're all farmers, and we're all concerned about the spread and potential spread of GMOs in our county. And we came to a meeting given by Paul Cienfuegos, where he introduced us to the concept of community rights work. And at the time, we were just so fired up about GMOs that we were prepared to swallow any new method that we thought would work. But when we started hearing more about the success that other communities had had with this work, we started to get really inspired. And it was during this process that one of the reasons that it really illustrated why we had to do it started happening, and that was that the ODA was considering the issue of whether to allow canola production on a commercial scale in the valley. A lot of you probably know that was going on 2 years ago. Well, Katie Koba, the director of the ODA, had the power to just, with one stroke of the pen, allow up to 10,000 acres or more of canola in the valley. And so even though there was this huge mass of people that didn't want this, all these farmers, both conventional and organic, I mean, there were guys on both sides of that issue that were coming together and saying, we don't want this, but what are we going to be able to do to stop it? And that's when we really realized that we had a tool at our disposal to be able to prevent that sort of unilateral governance, I guess, so to speak. So that was what really was the issue that drove it home for me. That's when I felt like I really drank the community rights Kool-Aid. And after that, people have asked us time and time again, why are you taking this long road? Because over the last 2 years, we've been in court numerous times. We took probably a year and a half just trying to get past the first stage, which was the single subject ruling. I mean, both Ann and Audrey spoke about having their local government against them, and that happened to us too, because we go in to argue in court that this, all the different things that were in our ordinance, I mean, the stripping corporations of their rights as it pertained to the enforcement of the ordinance, and all these other things they said didn't pertain to the ordinance. Well, we said, well, that's fundamental to enforcing this type of a law. How are we going to be able to have a law like this if it's going to get turned over right after we pass it? So that's why we're doing it this way, and that's why we believe the community rights method is the most effective way to effect real change. So after a year and a half of arguing in court about whether or not our ordinance met the single subject rule, and I have to give a huge debt of gratitude to Ann Kneeland, who was also our attorney, as well as to Linzey. It's really inspiring to be in court the day that we actually won that first hurdle, when Ann made those really inspiring arguments. I was very privileged to be there that day. So after that, though, we had another stage we had to get past, and that was the ballot title. And they had another intervener come in and say, well, the wording of how you're presenting it to the voters is biased and misleading. I mean, they put in every single stage of the way. They put obstacles and hurdles in our way because that's what they do. Time works in their favor, not in our favor. We don't have years and years and years we can spend spinning our wheels on ineffective measures. We gotta get to the root of this. We gotta do it now. We gotta start fighting a battle that's winnable. And I think that the community rights method is a winnable battle. So thank you very much for giving us those tools. He spoke earlier about how sustainability is illegal, that the local food system didn't have standing, that it was illegal to have a sustainable food system. Well, in Benton County, we're legalizing sustainable food production, so thank you very much.